Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 381 for December 25th, 2018. It's Christmas morning. Merry Christmas. I hope you got
Why the
all
hell
the
did you
great...
drag us down here? We got families, dude.
Yeah, well, Aquaman is more important than your family. What do they say in Lilo and Stitch? Something means family. Ohana means family. Is that what it is? Yeah. Aquaman means better than your family. Okay. That's what today's Christmas. Actually, no, we're recording on the weekend, but this live Christmas morning, or this goes up Christmas morning. Hope you guys had a good Christmas.
I don't think we could survive a live podcast.
No, on Christmas.
No, just a live podcast.
I don't edit shit. Like I take out like some dead air, and like our podcasts are basically live unless something really goes off the rails. I don't edit this podcast, so they're all basically live. We're doing it live. All right. So we all got to see Aquaman. Actually, all of us got to see it last night as of this recording, so it'll be Friday night. Before we get too far into talking about the movie, though, I do have a theater experience update.
Could we do something real quick?
What's that?
Introduce who the fuck is on this podcast.
Hey, my name's Ryan Higgins. Who's here with me this week?
Brock Sager.
Apparently nobody else, but
you.
Lane.
You're someone. Move the mic closer to your mouth. Yeah, it's perfect. And
Kevin.
Yes. Welcome, Kevin. No, Charlie.
Have the same ring as
I know.
And Charlie.
Charlie's got family stuff. Family stuff at Christmas. I'm a loser. But we're the real winners here because we're going to sit around and talk about Aquaman for an hour or three. Now, if you remember the dreaded. Was it Guardians 2?
Yes.
Review?
Yes.
With the sticky floors.
Yeah.
This has become sort of a throwback that especially Bryce and a few other people like to mention. Kevin, I think you join in the...
That was you, me, Charlie, and Bryce that night.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
What an experience. Well, we don't have quite the same level of experience at the theater for Aquaman last night, but there was a couple things worth noting, and I always like to talk about funny movie-going experiences. Now, I don't know if you caught what you caught of this, Kevin.
I only caught when you suddenly, in the middle of the movie, stood up and came and sat next to me.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the beginning. Let's start with the first thing. We had 9 people there, right? So we had 4, we had 5 in the back row, and then 4 in the row in front of it. Brock,
yes.
You were with Brody with your kid.
Mm-hmm.
2 of our other friends were there as well, and they were sitting together, and you guys were sitting together.
There were a couple,
and we go up there, and there's 3 seats. Clearly, someone was in the wrong seat. So there was people down the far end. There's like 2 or 3 people down the far end. An empty seat. A mother, like 4 or 5 kids. A father, Brock Brody, and this one seat, and a couple people down the end. So there was a seat down the far end that was somehow misaligned, right? So when I come up, I see the 3 seats, and Brody's there, and I say, hey, Brody, there's supposed to be 4 seats for you guys because you had run out, Brock.
I had gone to the bathroom.
and left your child alone, defenseless in this movie theater.
He had popcorn in the Aquaman cup.
We were all sitting right behind him.
Yeah, I know.
It was fine. But Brett and Julia...
I don't know how I trust my kid with you guys, but I do.
Well, Brett and Julia, the other people with us, they were still in line getting food. And so I turn and I go, Brody, there's supposed to be 4 seats here. Where's your dad sitting? And the dad, the father's like, oh, we're all in the right seats. Like, he immediately, is super defensive about that they're sitting in the correct seats. And I'm like, cool, wasn't talking to you. Anyway, small child, what's going on? Like, there's supposed to be 4 seats here. I think someone's in the wrong seat. It's just, are you sure you're in the right seat? And Brody's like, yeah, I think so. So Brett and Julia come up, and I'm talking to the people on the right side, and I'm like, hey, you guys, you're in the right seat, 7, 8, because we're missing a seat here. And the wife down the far end starts mouthing off, and I'm not even talking to her. Did you see any of this?
Okay, was I here when this was happening?
Yeah, you were here.
Okay, because I saw you up there patrolling the row ahead of us.
Yeah. You didn't know what was going on.
I figured somebody was sitting in the wrong place, but I didn't know any of this other stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't hear any of it. I saw you, but I couldn't hear any of it.
So I tell the lady, I'm like, do you mind moving down a seat? I think you guys are 1 seat over. And she's like, no, we're in the right seats. We're in the right seats. And I'm like, well, we have 4 tickets. Here's 1, 2, 3. There's a seat here. And the dad starts getting super defensive again. And I'm like, all right, well, there's a couple empty seats up here. Worst case, they can come up here. Another Scott, unfortunately, wasn't able to make it, so there was a free seat. We didn't realize he wasn't going to show up, but Thanks, Scott. It would have been okay, right? But Brett comes up and he's like, "Oh hell no!" So he goes gets the manager and he's like, "Hey, these people are in our seats. What should we do?" So the manager comes up and he's looking at him and he looks down the row and immediately the husband and wife are like kind of yelling at this guy. And this guy, and I don't know, again, I don't know if you heard what he said because I was further down and that's where the wife was. And she's like, we're not moving. He goes, you guys are in the wrong seat. They have those 4 seats. You guys all need to move over one. You're splitting up this couple down here, right? He goes, you can either move or you can leave. And the lady starts like mouthing off to him and he just kind of like stands there and she like kind of grumbles and like gets up and moves. And all the kids move. And I don't know if you realize this, Brock. I don't know if you caught this. The dad didn't move.
No, not at first. But
he sat there with an empty seat next to him on the other side. And like I could just feel it off of him like he wasn't going to move out of his seat. And the manager standing there watching him, like looking at him. And I don't know if he I don't know if he like just finally gave up, right? Like, fucking bitch, move. You're in the wrong seat. Like, this wasn't like we're trying to sneak 20 people in this theater. These are numbered seats. You're in the wrong seat. And like, it wasn't like they were pulling out their tickets and being like, look, we're in this seat, blah, blah, blah. They were just like, nope, we're in the right seat. Nope, not moving. I've never had to see a manager be pulled to move someone in a reserved seating theater before. I've been there where I'm like, oh, shit, someone's in the wrong seat. Everyone shuffles. Cool, now we're good. Like, I've never seen someone so defensive and so angry about this. It was crazy.
And all of this defensiveness and all of this fighting and getting a manager and everything was literally the real estate you're fighting and dying over is one seat.
Yeah, it was the craziest
It's
thing.
not like you're being shutted down to the front row.
Yeah. No, we're just like... And I was like, if they're not going to come up, like I can move down there, they can move up here, we can take Scott extra seat. Like it would have been fine, right? But they came up and they were like, no, you guys can either move or get out. So good on the theater for not letting these people sit in the wrong seats, which is super weird. So Kevin. So here's what happens. So there's 3 empty seats next to us. The movie's about to start, and that's why I was thinking that Brett and Julia could just sit next to me, or if we had to move people around, it would have been fine. Well, people come up and sit down. Lady pulls out her cell phone. She's texting. She's talking to her friend. We're still in trailers. Fine. I don't care. You do whatever you want during trailers. I mean, I'm watching the trailers, but do whatever you want. It doesn't bother me. Movie starts. She's kind of fussing a little bit. She's got food, but I'm not Brian, our friend Brian. Like, he'll go to clear the other side of the theater if you sit within 10 seats of him, right? Like, I'm not like that.
You breathe heavy once.
Yeah, right. I'm not like that. I'm like, whatever. She just got here. They were running late. She'll settle down. Sure. So 10 minutes into the movie, something happens, and she's like, ugh. And she's like gesticulating with her hand, like, look at this. Like, oh my God, can you believe this? Like,
about the screen?
About the movie,
okay.
Yeah. Like turning to her friend, right? And I'm like, well, that's a little annoying, but...
Well, let me just pause here and say I can't believe the level of your patience. This is a DC movie. This is like a church-going experience for you. You didn't come down there next to me until halfway through the movie.
Right.
Easily.
So, 5 minutes later... Oh, can you look at that? Oh my God! And I'm just like,
bitch, shut the fuck up.
So I'm just like, all right, look, they were running late. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here.
No, you can't give them a benefit.
I'm just giving them a few minutes.
Jason Momoa was half naked, like at that portion. She should have been going. If anything, she should have been going.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, let's see how long this goes on for, right? Because my initial worry was
now it's an experiment.
My initial worry was, oh, this family and this guy is going to start like throwing popcorn at us, or the wife's going to start mouthing off to us, or something like that. And all of a sudden, this lady next to me is just gesticulating wildly with her hands at every scene, like it's the worst movie she's ever seen. But then she's like laughing and like kind of likes it, and she's talking to her friends. She's like, whoa! So she's really into this, and she's more animated than I think you should be in a movie theater. So it's quiet for a while, and then, I'm just like, okay, I can't. I'm gonna have to move. Like, this is ridiculous. And I'm like, I'm just like, give it a 3 count. She gets 3 of these. The third one, I'm gone, right? At this point, I'm counting it. I'm now distracted. I'm like actually distracted at this point. And I'm like, this isn't happening so regularly, like it's every 5 seconds, but it's happening like every 10 minutes or so. Like something is happening.
I'm starting to enjoy this. Ugh.
Right. It's like I'm just about to forget it, and she does it again. So 10 more minutes later, whisper. Come on. That's 1. 10 minutes later. I'm just like sitting here like, okay. We're an hour in. We're like an hour into the movie. This has to be it. We're at the end here. 10 minutes later. I hear the inhale, and I just go, nope, and I put my seat down. I turn to my friend. I go, I'm sorry, Jeff. I have to move. I get up. I walk over 4 seats. I slam myself down. I kick back the rest and sit there. Kevin's like, what the fuck? What happened? And I'm like, I just had to move. I had to move. I'm sitting here the rest of the show. And then the rest of the show was perfect because you're a great movie-going person.
And then Kevin goes,
No. Yeah.
If only I had known why he had moved.
Man, it's rare. I think the last time I had a really bad experience with someone at a theater was when Wreck-It Ralph came out. There was this lady who had brought all her kids, and she was like on her cell phone like every 5 minutes. And I'm just like, I just turn and stare at her. And she like looks at me and like looks down and looks back at me, and I'm just like staring at her like, put your cell phone away or go somewhere else. Like that's the last time I've had like a really like actual like an experience at a theater where I was like, I have to do something. It had been a while, and I've had them before. It's not the first time, but it had been a while. I've never moved seats. I don't think I've ever moved seats in a movie theater. And
Really? Ever?
No, I don't think so. Not that I can remember.
Yeah, he's never had to sit on a folding chair.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't moving a seat. That was creating a seat where there was not a seat.
Now, it's possible the people in front of us, too, talking about moving chairs, right? Because they were sitting in like a handicapped seat. And I know there's like a seat next to them that's supposed to be for wheelchair. So I'm wondering if maybe one of those people bought a wheelchair ticket and didn't realize it, and one of them were actually sitting in the wrong seat. But getting back to the seat thing, it's like, just move one seat. Like it's not this big deal. It's crazy, but I don't care when people like kind of like our friend Jeff is a little like he'll laugh inappropriately and he'll kind of randomly talk during a movie a little bit, but I'm usually like, Jeff, shut up, and like that's sort of the end of it for quite a while. This lady, if I was a friend, I'd never go to the movies with her again. Like, the lady sitting next to me.
What's funny is like my son gets restless.
He really crashed out during the movie, didn't he?
He fell asleep. Like,
yeah.
It's late for him and stuff. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't even bother you, and he's like moving around and but he stays contained in his.
Yeah, that's fine.
People.
So,
well, that was
people suck.
45 minutes of movie theater experience.
I feel like I got a bonus like short film along with Aquaman hearing that story.
Yeah, it's been a while. Like usually I have great movie going experiences. And I've been to this movie theater a bunch recently, and I really like it.
I want to give I want to give the listeners an idea of the people that were sitting next to me and that father. He wore flip flops,
and he took the flip flops off.
Flip flops off.
I saw that.
I'm like, who the fuck wears flip-flops to a movie theater and then takes
in December
off? And like he literally would like he raised it up and then lowered it to take his flip-flops off and then raised it up again.
Those are the type of people that don't move one seat over.
But actually, I've seen worse. I was in a theater where somebody had flip-flops.
Yeah.
It was not a recliner seats, and they put their foot literally on the person in front of them.
On the seat in front of them?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. F that.
And, like, the guy turned around and just...
Hell no.
Yeah. Like, it was bad.
Is the level of comfort significantly better with your flip-flops off versus on? Would that really be a relief and you feel like, wow, that feels good?
The type of person...
Why are you wearing flip-flops to begin with?
The type of person that would be barefoot at a movie theater is like... It doesn't matter, right, at that point. You're used to walking on chewed bubblegum and broken glass already. Like,
I'm surprised you didn't call that manager back.
Oh, at the lady?
Yeah.
Well, there was a seat, so I just moved. I was like, Jeff can deal with her. Well, Jeff doesn't care. Like, yeah. I hope he doesn't think. Like, I told him afterwards. I was like, I couldn't deal with this lady next to me. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean anything to him. I was just like, I have to move. I have to move over here. I have to get
because
out of
when
the
you
seat.
came and sat down and said, I had to get away from the person next to me, I said, you mean Jeff?
Yeah, no. No, the only time Jeff is annoying at movie theater is when he has like he'll come in with like I think of like sesame seeds, and I'm like, dude, don't be spitting that like all over the floor every 5 seconds. That's about the
Or when he
worst he'll
gets one
ever
of his
get.
giggle fits.
He will laugh at the inappropriate or the incorrect parts of the movies. And he was okay during Aquaman. He liked it. That was actually really funny, which I kind of agree with. Anyway, we're just talking about Aquaman.
Yeah.
Speaking of Aquaman.
Yeah, the movie that we went to see, we had a horrible experience.
You saw this
getting
movie?
away
May I
from it.
raise
Nah,
a
that's
question
great.
before we even get to it?
Yeah, of
Because
course.
I actually don't know the answer to this, and I'm curious. What, independent of this film,
Yeah.
what are everybody's feelings at the table on the character of Aquaman?
In general?
Yeah. I mean, a longtime fan, a new fan, not really a fan, cool, sort of, what?
You know, going back to my real first Aquaman was Peter David / Morrison Justice League Hook Hand. Like, that's my kind of introduction to Aquaman. I knew him. I clearly knew him prior, right?
Yeah, from cartoons and stuff.
Yeah, but I didn't read Aquaman. He would have been in a couple of the early Justice League books I read, like the early Giffen Mattis. Like, what was he in Justice League Europe? Maybe when that
He was,
started. International.
He was in the Adam Hughes issues.
Yeah.
of International.
Yeah, so I may have read him in a couple books, and I mean, I knew him from Super Friends, but I had no like super great knowledge. But the Peter David run was that. I mean, that was my kind of real introduction to Aquaman. And he's had some not stellar runs in the last 20 years, but he's had some fantastic runs. And it kind of Aquaman became one of those characters where I don't know what they could. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't know what they could do to get me to never read an Aquaman comic again. Like, I will probably read every Aquaman comic until I stop reading comics going forward, because it is sort of one of the big characters from DC. He's not my favorite, but I do like him. I do enjoy him. The only time I stopped reading Aquaman was after Kurt Busiek wrote him.
Busiek did like that sword and sorcery
Yeah.
version, right?
Yeah.
And that was also the Eric Larson stuff.
No, that's
that was before.
Peter David. That's after the Peter David run.
Yeah, I started with the Eric Larson stuff.
Yeah, so that would have been like late 90s.
Yeah, like that's the stuff I started reading, and then the Kurt Busiek stuff was.
No, the Busiek stuff was okay.
Yeah.
It was the run. I don't remember the writer's name. He was like a novelist. That
Tad Williams.
yes, Tad Williams.
That's it.
Yeah. That was the worst. I mean, by far the worst Aquaman comics I've ever read. It was just a basic misunderstanding of the character and the world, and it was a basic misunderstanding of comic books. Just the writing. He was a novelist, and he was trying to write a comic book, and that sounds great, but it just didn't work. He didn't know the structure of comics, and he certainly didn't know the character of the world. So it was this. It wasn't really an Aquaman comic book. It was like this other thing he was doing, but it had the Aquaman name on it. Outside of that, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a super fan, but I do like Aquaman quite a bit.
Yeah, for me, I think it started like around the Eric Larson Busiek stuff. Like I kind of read a little, but then like I tried the Tad Williams stuff, and I was like, oh no,
What did we have? We had Peter David, Eric Larson did it for a few years. Then we had all the Sub Diego stuff, which I really liked that. That was a cool run. I'm blanking on the writer who did that. And then I think it was Busiek, and then the Tad Williams, and then they relaunched it. And I don't remember who was doing it pre-New 52. I don't remember who was doing those issues right. That run before New 52.
it wasn't very long.
Can't remember. Like 40 or 50 issues or something. I don't remember who did that. It wasn't very good either way. Cullen Bunn, didn't he? Bunn did the end pre-New 52, I think.
Maybe.
It's since New 52, Aquaman's been fantastic. I mean, I think Aquaman was at least on one or two of my end of year.
Really?
Oh no, Cullen Bunn did the end of the New 52 run. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Which is fine. John's run was fantastic.
John's run really kind of elevated Aquaman to
Yeah.
like a solid standing. Like,
I think it's Peter David, then Johns. Like, those are the two big runs in the modern day.
Yeah. As for exposure for me, for Pryor, he was a character that I knew was in cartoons. I knew he was a DC character, but I think it was really kind of Johns that solidified me enjoying the character a lot. So yeah, I still read it now. The Abnett stuff's been really good too.
Lane.
Well, for me, it was Super Friends like everybody else.
Yeah.
After that, I read right before Peter David. I don't remember who it was, but once he lost the hand, I kind of dropped it because I just didn't. I don't know. I wasn't really into that.
Yeah.
And then I came back for 52 with Johns, but that's about it.
Okay.
I'll side with you on Super Friends. I have a memory of a Super Friends coloring book that I used to have, and there's an Aquaman riding a seahorse picture in this coloring book.
Yeah.
And I remember what felt like taking hours to get this thing meticulous, no crayon line outside the... And of all the Mego dolls that I used to have, the only one that I still have that I went to the trouble of getting new body parts and like restoring the whole doll is Aquaman.
Nice.
But yeah, so there's the Justice League years. There's that Justice League era where he was the leader of the team.
That's
with
the Detroit stuff,
Gypsy
right?
and Steel. Yeah, the Detroit. Then there was the blue and white, like the camouflage costume in the 80s.
Yeah, that's all like the it's like the Time and Tide. Was that the
Time and Tide's Peter David.
Oh, that's right when he started, right?
Peter
right.
David did that was like an Aquaman year one.
Yeah.
That Peter David wrote. That was really
Atlantis
good.
Chronicles and all that.
Yeah, that Time and Tide was good. Kurt Swan illustrated a miniseries also. I love that character. To me, he's always been, orange shirt, blonde hair, green pants. Like that's just. I am not up to date on all of the more recent, and I did not like Lane, the hook hand. Not the character. I just didn't like that physical aspect of him. But yeah, I love this character from like small child. Well, if I care enough to make a Mego doll now, obviously. But yeah, I'm just not all up on current, like since, let's say 2000. I have not read every Aquaman comic.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the Rebirth stuff, I highly recommend less so the first few arcs, but when Steven Sedgwick takes over as the artist, the last few arcs they've done, and you could read it just completely devoid of any of the previous issues. It goes back to that sort of fantasy sorcery less swords, more sorcery version of Aquaman, and the last. Well, I haven't read this most recent issue now that they have a new creative team, but the last 20 issues or so of Aquaman is fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. Brock's giving me the look.
The Kelly Sue DeConnick issue?
Yeah.
Oof.
Well, her and Matt Fraction have their Legendary Pictures deal now, so she'll be gone very soon. Don't worry.
I think the difficult part is where.
Well, in the current Aquaman book, at the end of the Justice League Aquaman crossover, he's
Drowned Earth.
Yeah, he's amnesiac, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is it's where it's a natural thing for the book where it's going. So that's not jarring. What's jarring is just kind of where she's like wanting to take it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like.
Well, we've seen so many times, both at Marvel and DC, sort of the movies are doing this, so we must go in the opposite direction, which to me feels a little weird. I don't know why you wouldn't embrace, why would the comic not be, like, the arc right now should be, fucking Aquaman and Mera
Getting married
versus Ocean Master and Manta, drawn by Steven Sedgwick, covers by Art Germ, like that should be the push right now. Is like, hey, if you've seen the movie, here's your hook. If you're a longtime fan, we're going to give you like the Batman Hush of Aquaman to read when the movie's out. Right? This is going to be a trade that when it comes out on DVD, you sell. I mean, like to me, like that's my thought. Of make it instead of going, hey, you like the movie? Cool, we're going to go in a completely opposite direction. That's Avengers did it. They're doing it with Aquaman. It's a weird. I don't get it, and I don't know if that's the companies are like.
Well, we saw that with Guardians when Bendis.
Oh yeah, it went way.
It was like
way different. Yeah. I mean, same characters. They tried to emulate the tone, but the plot was like not. It wasn't something I would give people that like the movie. Yeah.
No, we were trying to give people the Abnett and Lanning stuff.
Yeah.
But Marvel didn't.
I
put
didn't have
out.
it in print at the time. Yeah.
How do you not have this in print? Like,
Yeah.
people are asking for this like 6 months in advance,
Yeah,
and Marvel
it's
doesn't even
crazy.
have it in print. I'm
Yeah.
like, ugh.
When is the hardcover coming out for the Sajic stuff?
The first one's out.
Yeah, but wasn't that only like 4 issues or something?
I don't think it's 4.
It's really small.
It's small, but it's the first. It's his first run. It's
Yeah,
maybe the
but-
first trade's worth or
They're
whatever
not
it
going to
is.
just put the whole run in there.
They might. He only did art in the first half, though.
Yeah.
And he did covers, but the other artist like is very similar to him, or like it kind of fills in like it's like every other issue he does. But then he went over to Justice League Odyssey, and then they redid it and canceled. So like that's such a nightmare. Anyway, Aquaman. We should talk about this movie
Yes,
eventually.
we're an hour in now.
Yeah, not quite. Let's start. Let's go around the table. Lane, you saw it first. You saw it before all of us. You got my magic number generator I did earlier, so you get to start this party. So it worked out well. You saw it in IMAX the first time. You saw it on Thursday, and then you saw it with us on Friday. Why don't you give us a little quick thoughts, and especially on the IMAX end, I want to hear. 'Cause
IMAX is amazing because it's meant for a full screen. I mean,
Yeah.
the visuals are just so gorgeous. Like all the fish, all the trench, everything.
Yeah.
You have to see it in the white screen. Like seeing on a small screen feels kind of like a rip-off.
I mean, is this a small? This was like the big theater there, the big
Yeah.
screen there, but it is not an IMAX screen.
And plus you get a matted widescreen in those auditoriums is the problem.
Yeah. And that's going to be anything that's IMAX is going to be. They pop the screen bigger, so it's not full IMAX. I mean, it's not the entire movie, right? It pops back and forth.
No, the whole thing was IMAX, I believe.
Was it? They should Aquaman fully in IMAX. I don't think so.
Well, I mean,
A lot of times when I've seen movies in IMAX, and it is this, like a lot of times you don't notice that it pops back and forth because when it's IMAX,
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight does
Right,
it.
the opening.
They only have
the
certain scenes,
the
yeah.
opening
Yeah.
is like, well, bam, and then it goes
Like
down.
Infinity
but
War
you
did
don't-
that.
You don't,
Infinity
you
War-
don't notice. No,
Was it-
Infinity War was all IMAX.
Was it?
Yeah,
yeah, I believe so.
it was all
I think there
IMAX
was one
films.
scene that wasn't, but it's all CG in the background, so it doesn't matter. They just filled it out.
Maybe it is. It's cool.
So I think it's the same with Aquaman. I think it's just they might have filmed certain sections not in IMAX, but they filled it out with CG,
Yeah.
so it
Could be.
wouldn't matter.
Overall thoughts.
I love the movie. I mean, I was like a little kid. Like I was smiling the whole way through, and yeah, I just enjoyed the film, especially the first time.
Yeah.
Watching the second time, I don't think I had much of a different feeling, but I was looking for little things that I might have missed, but I didn't really miss too much because, fortunately, the movie's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not complicated or anything. Picked up a few things that I missed the first time, which I mean, I knew was coming, like certain characters, certain people appearing that I knew, but
Right.
wasn't sure the first time around. Things like that. Like the big one. Well, we can go to it later.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll just say that for now. Keep it
Okay.
simple.
So your review for IMAX is, oh my god, this is awesome, and your review for the regular is,
Meh.
But story-wise, you still like. I mean, you like the IMAX improves it because of the visuals.
Visuals, yeah. Because I mean, the movie is just so incredibly visual.
Yeah.
And I mean, the story, I think the story overall is really good. It could have been changed to be a little slimmer.
Yeah.
If anything, I absolutely love the score.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
music was incredible.
Was this the same guy that did Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, except for the two changes to the hip hop music were a little weird, but
Depeche Mode, though.
they kind of worked. It was a little weird.
oh, I knew you were sold on the movie when I heard Depeche Mode drop. I was
Oh, yeah,
nope,
yeah.
Ryan's done.
Yeah.
This movie's
Yeah.
the best thing ever for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, overall, absolutely great film.
Don't like the hip hop version of Africa.
Oh, I didn't mind it. It was just kind of a little bit.
Hey, it was the right sort of cheese that the movie that the rest of the movie was going for.
Yeah.
Kevin Sharp. I don't know what you think because I don't think you knew what you think
I
when we
didn't know,
left.
right. So this is non-spoilers, right? So
Nope,
anybody's
full spoiler. This
Well,
is
no, we're not. We're doing our general things. We're going to spoilers.
no, but you can spoil whatever
you
you
can
want.
spoil.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll just speak generally. So if anybody just is listening to this part and then wants to shut it off before seeing the movie.
Like, what do these guys think?
Yeah.
Okay, they like it. I'm going to go see it.
It was fun. There were some really, really great visual parts, which I won't specify right now. There were parts that were such a joy to watch, and in the execution and the craft, that it made me wish the whole movie was at that level. I would say that enjoyment-wise, I would probably say this was something for me personally around like Guardians 2. I liked them. It was a little fat and could have definitely been trimmed down. I think this movie's 220, the runtime, something like that.
Yeah.
It did not need to be 220. But yeah, it was fun, and I think that the Ocean Master looked great. He looked like the Ivan Rice version.
Yeah.
Black Manta was perfect.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of Mira. I will save the other comments. And overall, I think if the first two DC Universe movies had been Wonder Woman and this, they'd be having a very different set of conversations in the halls of Warner Brothers than they're having right now. I'll leave it at that.
Well, what do you think? I mean, I kind of feel like that's what's happening now, right? I mean, this Aquaman and Wonder Woman, to a degree, are in response to those conversations, right? So,
but I just mean if these had been your first two out of the gate,
then
instead of being a response to conversations, if these had been the conversation starter, I think they'd be in a different position right now.
Sure. You know, so I'm obviously a big fan of the DC movies, in case anyone listening doesn't know.
You're a fan of the DC movies?
But, I do kind of go back and rethink my position, and I want to kind of get my official list down. I mean, I really like Justice League, and I still defend it, but I think it has...
That's the caveat, but I still defend it.
Yeah, well, because a lot of people don't like it. And there are things about it that I didn't like, and there are things about it I liked. And obviously, Man of Steel and BVS, especially that first time I saw BVS, there were things in it that I was like, something about this is weird. But you kind of get the asterisks with the director's cut, and
that's it. We need to figure out if this movie has an asterisk.
Well, so right, Wonder Woman was the first time where I was like, oh, critics like it, fans like it, and I saw it, and I was like, yep. No asterisks on this. This is incredible. So again, when I saw some of the reviews coming out, a little not traditional DCU bad, but not Wonder Woman good, and I think the DCU movies on Rotten Tomatoes start at 80 and go down. Like they just don't start at 100, right? I mean, that's just
what about on Bryce Tomatoes? Right.
Marvel movies start at 125 or so, and then they go down from there. And I saw this late. I should have seen this like fucking 2 weeks ago, like everyone else, right? I mean, like we were the last people on Earth to see this movie on opening night on a Friday. I've never seen. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a movie on opening Friday. I'm usually seeing it at worst Thursday, if not 2 weeks before a sneak preview or something. Especially with these
every other
movies.
movie I think I've been to with you has been on a Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I never go to movies on Fridays, but just because of travel and holidays, this was the only chance I could go. And literally, this is the only day we could record this podcast, so I had to go. I love this movie, and there's no asterisks. I think the reviews are a little weird, like they tend to be with DCU movies. But to me, this was exactly what I wanted out of an Aquaman movie. There's a level, and I don't know how else to say this. There's a level of stupidness that comes with a lot of comic book characters, especially a character like Aquaman. You have to buy into this world. They very easily could have had a very Zack Snyder Aquaman on ground that talked about Atlantis in vague fashion, that never really went there, that maybe dealt with it a little bit, but it was like way more grounded. And they said, no, we are going in with seahorses and krakens, and we're going to go explore the entire history of every version of Aquaman. We're going to explore every type of villain he's had. We're going to just lean into this as hard as we can, because I feel like if they had pulled back, it wouldn't have worked. And to me, I think the reason the movie works so much for me is because they did that, because they didn't pull back. They said, nope, we're going to talk about Zebel, and Mera's going to have her aqua telekinesis, and we're having every fucking animal on Earth under the sea that Aquaman can control, and we're going to do the voodoo, from the shows, right? Like every element of Aquaman is here, unapologetic, right? And that is when these movies have been the best. I think that's when they do this. They take so much pride in the source material They're not embarrassed by it. I don't think Zack Snyder is embarrassed by the source material. I just think he likes a very specific version of it that doesn't apply to every character. And Aquaman is not really a character you can do that with. And Wonder Woman would also not have been a character you could do it with. You have to lean really hard into the mascara and her origins, and which the Wonder Woman movie did as well. So, until we get in like big spoilers, 2 huge thumbs up. I really need to sit down and reconsider my DCU kind of ranking list, because this is it better than Wonder Woman? Hard to say. I think elements of it are. I think elements of it are not. I think it's a much stronger villain. I didn't really care for Ares, but I love Wonder Woman. I love Gal Gadot. I love the whole movie. This is bigger than Wonder Woman. This is bigger than Justice League. I mean, scale-wise, maybe equivalent with Man of Steel. That's probably as close as we've had, like on a epic scale. I mean, Man of Steel is him and Zod just going crazy.
Well, plus all the Krypton stuff on that.
Right.
Yeah.
That stuff was really good.
This is multiple armies fighting each other over control of Atlantis, right, and the waters, and you have Game of Thrones and Indiana Jones and Lord of the Rings and superheroes all sort of smashed together in this movie. I don't know that I could have asked for a better Aquaman movie.
Do you need a tissue to wipe the drool?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Brock,
Yes.
quick hits.
Quick hits. So I want to preface this by saying, going into this movie, I was scared shitless.
I mean, I was too.
Like, because just from the trailers, the amount of material that they wanted to cram into this movie, I was afraid it was going to have the Spider-Man 3 BVS problem, like every single superhero movie that has way too many story arcs crammed into one. That was my biggest fear, because you saw Throne of Atlantis, you saw and we're dealing with his origin, we're dealing with a lot of what was the other thing? We're dealing with the trench. Like, there's so many different aspects.
Can I comment real quick?
Yeah.
Making, and again, little spoiler, making Black Manta basically Orm's like
Mercenary?
Sure.
Assassin?
It's not 2 villains, right? It's one villain using another villain to do something and then attacking outright after that. Like, it's a good way to do 2 villains that they're rarely able to get away with that in comic movies.
Yeah,
Much like Iron Man 3 did.
Well, because for me, I mean, I missed a small. I missed.
Can you believe? Oh my
moving.
God,
Lane, I got to sit next to you. I'm moving. Sorry.
Did somebody say Iron Man 3?
No.
I thought I just heard hot trash. So that was my biggest fear going into this movie, was they were trying to cram too many Aquaman stories into one.
Yeah.
I did miss the part right before he's driving on the coastline with the waves, so I don't know if anything happened, like Orm gave it instruction or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, because you walked out with Brody.
Brody had to use the restroom. So I missed
The only thing, that's when you found out that Ocean Master had hired. Was that when, right?
Because I assumed Black Manta was the one piloting the sub that fired at them.
Yeah,
It's not said.
It's not said.
It said that it's the stuff he took, but no one said that he was in it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But
So the thing is so for me, like it was natural for Orm to bring Black Manta back into the movie.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, after you see Black Manta, you're like, okay, well, he's not in the movie anymore. But, like, it was a natural thing. So for me, that was my biggest fear. I think what they did with this movie was really well done, in the sense that they didn't take complete arcs. What they did was they took like core moments that worked in these story arcs and used them in this movie to advance the Ocean Master story that they were telling. And so for me, that was like it well done. Like they did a great job, like condensing the lore down so you understood it in a very simplistic manner. It wasn't Game of Thrones long, detailed.
No, but I mean, it's the same.
Like you got it in the beats. Like it's
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
We know what's going on. We know why they're doing these things. Yeah, visually, the movie was amazing.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
I can understand in IMAX it being a lot better, because you get more of that sense of you're underwater, just at the scope of it.
Not just that. The scene was in Tuscany. The rooftop sequence. Yeah. Oh, that's no matter what you saw in the trailer. There's more to it in the movie, and that long trailer had a big chunk of it, but that scene is incredible.
Yeah. And to me, it had nice little things in it with the treasure hunting for the trident, right?
I really like that.
Like it wasn't overblown. It was just they had to do enough to keep going and moving. So I thought that overall the movie was great. If I have one complaint about this movie, it's adjusting my ears to understanding what the hell anybody is saying underwater, because there's this weird like going on. And it at times it's jarring and you can't understand it. And the worst was the throne room with Ocean Master, where he's like, God knows how many feet away from Aquaman chained, and
it's a big echoey
and there's
room.
there's an echo, but it's like, what? Like, I shouldn't be able to hear anything.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a weird reverb on the talk, on the dialogue when they're underwater, which, it made sense. They were trying to emulate.
Yeah, they were trying to emulate
there were a few points where you're like, what did he say? But then that scene was the one scene where I was like, I literally didn't understand what he said. I felt like I needed subtitles because it was a weird effect. And I wonder if they're going to fix it on the Blu-ray or something like that. I feel like it was
I think the biggest problem was when you went at the distant shot, you were like, huh, what's he saying? But when he comes up close, you can hear him again.
Yeah. Well, they were trying to emulate this big open ballroom, and it's big and echoey. But when you put that kind of
it's supposed to emulate water, right? Like water transmits sound waves fast.
Yeah, but we are also supposed to understand what the characters on the screen are saying.
I understood it all fine, so I don't know.
No, I mean, once I kind of got
maybe in the
used to
IMAX theater, it's better audio or something.
It was actually. I have to say, in the IMAX one, it was a little bit louder.
Yeah.
I felt like the music was also just a little bit. The volume was a little louder in the IMAX than it was in the other theater.
Yeah, I normally have really good experiences with the audio at this place, so maybe it is just the audio was off a little bit, which can happen.
So, but I mean, despite that and getting used to it and going back and forth from being underwater to not underwater and having to adjust, once you kind of got adjusted to it, it's kind of, I guess, like getting your sea legs.
Yeah.
So it was okay. But yeah, I thought it was really well done. Jason Momoa did a fantastic job. As always, tons of women are going to flock to this movie just because he's half naked for, God, most of it. But yeah, I thought, they did enough of the cheese for the character. They did great humor with it. I think the one thing I really liked, almost above all else, was we finally get a legitimate reason why Black Manta's helmet is so large.
Yeah, that was great.
That was funny.
That
was funny.
So, yes. So I enjoyed Aquaman. I thought it was very well done.
Well, I want to break down the cast a little bit here because I do want to talk about a number of these characters. I don't know what we have to say about Aquaman other than the fact that he was great, and especially at the end when he gets his traditional.
Yeah, that was my two favorite Aquaman parts.
Yeah,
I don't mean the movie. I mean the character.
Yeah,
the opening in that submarine.
Yeah, it was great.
I thought was really good and really strong. And unfortunately, I didn't love it like you guys loved it, but I loved that part, and it set me up at a level that it didn't always follow through on. Mm-hmm. But I love the ending with him. He's riding. Okay, we're in spoilers.
Yeah, full spoiler. Yeah.
He's riding the Kraken.
Yeah.
He's got his trident. He's got something resembling the classic costume, close enough.
Yeah.
And then that lasts, I don't know, what is it, 10 minutes maybe?
Yeah, we're just fighting Norm on.
Yeah, and then when it's
a challenge and everything,
and sends the sharks scattering with it. Oh, fantastic!
Oh, it's so good.
Those were my two favorite Aquaman parts.
Well, the plot of Ocean Master trying to take over. I wasn't sure. Well, let me start this whole conversation over. I know something that bothers you, Kevin, and it bothers me a little bit too. And that's killing villains in the comic book movies. All right. When they started this plot with Ocean Master, I was like, "Ugh, they're gonna kill him. That's the only way Aquaman can become king." And when they get to that last fight, I'm like, they're not gonna kill him. It's something about it, just like it something triggered in me that I realized I don't think they're gonna kill him. And then I was very happy when they didn't, because again, I don't like it when they kill these villains in these movies. So I was really hoping they wouldn't, because I thought Ocean Master was awesome.
Well, plus, if you're a considering any Aquaman sequels, you cannot kill Ocean Master or Black Manta.
Yeah.
Because you're scraping deep after that. You got like the fisherman, the flying fish.
Yeah.
Like you're really going to have to.
Yeah.
Well, like Jason Momoa did fantastic. Like the gauntlet, the green gauntlets, and just the orange costume. That was the first time in a comic book movie I was like, nailed it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I think Marvel's kicking themselves in the ass because they didn't get him for Namor.
Faster.
On that note, can we make a side?
Yeah, of course.
I did some homework on this because on this podcast a couple of times I've said, how could Marvel let this guy get away? Why isn't he playing Namor?
Yeah.
Like it's the most obvious casting since Downey Jr.
Yeah.
in any of these movies. Yeah. I asked somebody who would know the answer to this, and apparently Namor was part of that Marvel fire sale back in the 90s.
I think is he with Paramount?
He's with Universal. He was with Universal, so he wasn't part of the FF. He wasn't part of any package. He's just a standalone item. So it's not like in the Marvel...
the Marvel Cinematics.
It's not like in the queue for a Marvel movie.
It's part of Hulk, right? Hulk and weren't him and Hulk with Universal?
Yeah, but they weren't a...
Right, they were separate.
They could make a Hulk movie and never touch Namor. Yeah, they were just two items. Like Fox with the FF. And,
yeah.
Go ahead, Brock. Sorry.
No, it's... I was like, yep, they're still kicking themselves in the ass.
I don't know. I honestly don't think he would make a good Namor, personally.
I mean...
Because Namor, to me, has always been kind of like he's kind of a douchebag, actually.
I mean, classically, just appearance-wise, he looks more like Namor.
I don't think so.
Like the way he portrays Aquaman, that's neither Aquaman nor Namor. No. It's a new version of a character.
To me, his Aquaman is more Samoan.
Yeah.
Like you said. But to me, Namor is not Samoan, nor like...
No, I think he looks like him, but...
I don't think he looks like him at all, because Namor looks more... I don't know. He always... To me, he has that more squinty-eyed kind of like... He's always kind of looked like the bad guy or the guy you want to smack.
Yeah. Well, definitely.
Well, the thing is I think another thing about what I liked, I think with the casting of Jason Momoa is that in this, when they took they had his mom and his father, it's kind of like I liked that dynamic of, it's like, well, it's human and Atlantean, but it's also like you get the Hawaiian with, it's a mixed race, so it's already like I liked that aspect of it. Like I'm like, this really fits with the character. I think it adds to the Aquaman character in the sense that there's something missing when you have that blonde hair, blue eyes kind of character. But with this, it adds that second layer of him being tied not only to humans but to Atlanteans. So I thought they did a great job with it.
I was kind of hoping they might embrace the Samoan a little more because, Samoa's an island.
Yeah.
And it's all about water. So it's like I was kind of hoping they'd embrace the culture, but it's fine that they didn't.
I'm going to go way out of left field for just 1 second because I didn't realize the Brine King was John Rhys Davies. I love him so much. I should have realized that immediately hearing his voice.
Wasn't the Kraken?
Oh yeah, it's Julie Andrews. Yeah. Which is coming out the same week as Mary Poppins too, which is really funny. We have to talk about Amber Heard and Nicole Kidman as Mara and Creed.
Okay. So there were parts of
hold
this.
on. Do you have a problem with Mara?
They were.
I will tell you.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Outside now.
I will tell you this. There were parts of the movie where I was like, I wish they just made a Mira movie.
Yeah.
Like she was so good.
She was so good.
She looked fantastic when she was wet, and everybody get your mind out of the gutter. The problem is, for me, was not her character, and she was good, and the powers looked good. It's those effing wigs were so inconsistent from scene to scene when she was dry. I mean, like there's a big bouffant one. There's like a much closer to her head. The colors don't always match, and they should have done her eyebrows. It just made it look like Woody Harrelson in Venom with the brown eyebrows and this Ronald McDonald hair.
So I will agree with you on the eyebrows because yes, the carpets do match the drapes, so you need to be consistent.
Okay, Brock.
What? I know from experience,
Brock said
assholes.
I was...
But I love the character and the performance.
Yeah.
I'm saying I was distracted by... It didn't seem like quite enough care was put in.
Her hair was all over the place in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, I think everyone's hair was all over the place. It was just
not Orm's.
Well,
I mean, I want to know how he pulled that back and got it so perfect. Like
underwater.
How did you do that?
But Atlanta, I loved her too. Like they did such a good job with both of those characters, and you know she's a character that she's not really a character in the comics, right? I mean they talk about his mom, but she barely exists as a character. And just the underwater powers, I loved everything they do with Mera, and they didn't really. I feel like the rest of the people from Zebel, I didn't really get into them. They don't all have powers, right?
They haven't in the
comics. It's her.
I don't know unless there's been some retcon recently.
Yeah.
Well, I know that they got the Zebels is Zebels, right?
Zebel. Yeah.
Zebel. Yeah. They're not as distant because in the comics,
they're as close. They're as close to the Atlanteans as any of the other races, but they're like an offshoot. They're the same people, I believe.
Yeah, it's just a different like group or whatever.
And
but
in the
comics, they're like separate. Like
but
it's to enter the Zebel domain, you have to go through.
Well, I don't. And again, Kevin, correct me if you have some older knowledge, Brock, for the more recent books, if I'm misremembering something. But things like the brine and the fishermen and all that, they're not like all descendants from the original Atlanteans, like the original human people. I don't think some of those are even in the comics. I could be completely mistaken.
The fish people might be in the comics. But like the older stuff,
yeah, but they're not. See, the thing is,
they're different races.
Yes,
they're not all descendant from the same race that's split. So they have. And again, if for some reason you haven't seen this movie and you're this far into the podcast, they split up the fact that when Atlantis fell, was it 7? Right,
7.
The people of Atlantis sort of became 7 separate groups that, in some cases, like the Trench.
Well, it's like they evolved or de-evolved in the case of like the Trench
in pretty severe ways.
But the thing is they
don't really. That's not in the comics.
It's not in the comics, but knowledge. I really like that concept because
it's cool. It's fine.
Adds to what Atlantis has always had this it's just the place, right? It's stuff like the brine and the fishermen, like they should just be another race, right? Like, and they could have had trade deals with Atlantis, so they could have, but they're not evolved from original Atlanteans. But again, whatever. It worked within the context of the movie, and I thought it was cool because, I'm sure Atlanta and Mera will talk about more. They completely axed the Mera's come to kill him, right?
Oh, they axed a couple things from Justice League where they're just like, well, first of all. Again, this is the problem with superhero movies is, what the fuck's the Justice League when the Earth's being destroyed? There's billions of tidal waves wiping out all the ships. Like, where's Superman flying around saving these ships? But whatever, you have to forgive those in these movies because it just...
Well, you have to forgive that in any comic book fiction.
Right.
Where are the Avengers when Galactus comes and it's only the FF standing between him and...
Flash can fix this problem. Why didn't Green Arrow call him?
If you think that way, you may be too old for superheroes, basically.
But they do mention the fight with the Justice League, and they mention what's his face, Steppenwolf. But they kind of, he's like he met Mera for the first time in this movie. Like they kind of
because he said, "What's your name?"
Yeah, they kind of ignore whatever was going on in Justice League. And now I know,
did she even say her name in the Justice League?
I don't know if she did.
I don't think she did.
No, but there wasn't a scene of it, but. I would presume that at some point it would have come up because he was underwater with them.
Yeah, but he was only underwater with them.
Well, in Justice League, the implication is that he goes to Atlantis to get the mother box that Steppenwolf is getting. And some people commented like, well, he's already been to Atlantis. But then other people replied, we don't know if that was Atlantis. Right. They don't actually say where that mother box was. It was just underground. It was just under the water somewhere. So I think maybe some assumptions about Justice League. But then their character, like, it's not that they feel different. It's just sort of like, we're going to reestablish this relationship in this movie. Like they really don't know each other. Which, whatever.
Fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
Well, that battle with Steppenwolf, Aquaman took a couple knocks, had too many beers afterwards. His concussion, he forgot.
Well, and she was supposed to have a much bigger role in Justice League, too. I know there's Zack Snyder's been out there posting all these shots and stuff that never got filmed and early test screenings. And she was supposed to be in the last fight against Steppenwolf with the Justice League and with Aquaman. So clearly, tons of stuff changed.
But amazing. She did amazing.
We'll come back to a few characters here, but I do want to touch briefly upon maybe my favorite scene in the movie, and that's the trench.
Oh, wait. I was going to say, one more thing about Zebul.
Yeah.
You do realize the king.
Okay. I knew Dolph Lundgren was in this movie. I knew this character. I couldn't tell that was him. Like,
you didn't know that was Dolph Lundgren?
No, like my brain never made that connection until the credits, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that worked." Never dawned on me that that's who he was playing. I don't look this stuff up beforehand, right? So I had no idea. He was fine. He wasn't like a cheesing his way through that movie. He did great, as good a job as anyone else. I feel he was fine.
Well, Dolph Lundgren is. Here's a sentence that I'm.
It's a strange choice.
Preparing to say. Dolph Lundgren was really good in Creed 2.
Okay.
Like, no joke.
Yeah.
So, with actors like him or Willem Dafoe, Nicole Kidman to a lesser degree, because she had you're not coming into a comic book movie to do some serious, heavy, like, Oscar-worthy acting.
Yeah.
Same with Tamora Morrison. Mm-hmm. That guy has been in amazing films, not counting Attack of the Clones. But it's just, I guess it's fun to see a parade of famous faces in these movies.
Yeah.
Or like Redford in The Winter Soldier. They're fine.
Yeah.
You just show up and say the lines and you bring some gravitas to the parts.
Well, when you're in Hollywood, you have to have at least one comic book movie on your belt nowadays.
Apparently,
you don't have a resume.
Apparently so.
Yeah, well, if you want that paycheck.
You have to have a Star Wars movie or a comic book movie. Yeah.
Sorry, Star Trek.
But we got to talk about the trench for a minute. I was not prepared for this movie to turn into a horror movie for about 5 minutes, but holy shit. Scrap whatever plans you had for Justice League 2 because I need Justice League vs. the Trench to be a movie tomorrow. Holy shit. So the Trench in the comics are this kind of amphibian, reptilian...
They're like a amphibian, humanoid, reptilian, like piranhas.
Yeah, kind of like they live way down, way below where any living beings can live.
They have that thing with the light on it.
Yeah, and they're pretty scary in the comics, right? But they took this to this is basically the DC equivalent of a xenomorph in this, right? I mean, it was that level of they're these crazy, just humanoid alien monsters that, again, they're sensitive to light, so they attack during darkness and everything like that. And so, getting away from it made enough sense to me. I feel
it was like that.
It was a cool scene.
Oh God, why am I blanking on his name? Chronicles of Riddick guy.
Pitch Perfect.
Vin Diesel, yeah.
Or Pitch Perfect. Was it Pitch Dark? What's it called?
Pitch Black.
Pitch Black? Is that what the movie's called?
Yes.
No. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If only you had some tool where you could get your answer.
I've heard it. I've never seen it. I heard it's really good.
You've never seen Pitch Black?
No.
Pitch Black's fun.
Really
Chronicles of Riddick is fun.
But we need a movie where for some reason Triton comes back and blocks the sun and the moon, and so it's pitch black on the DC Universe Earth, and the Trench are like, now's the time, and they just fucking swarm. I need this. Should you get James Cameron to direct it? It could be like Aliens. I need this movie to happen. That was
why do we get the distinct feeling when the Blu-ray comes out, or the 4K, however you're going to get it, you are literally going to put this scene on repeat a handful of times.
It's a good scene.
You know what was really cool in that scene? Well, all of it, but the first shot, it's a side shot when they first go down underwater and you still see the boat on the surface.
Yeah.
And the lightning strike from the storm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just such great craft to take the care to put the storm in there instead of just cutting to them underwater.
Yeah.
You see the whole progress.
Well, it's got like a Jaws poster feel to it, right? That
except
sort of
the
shot.
reverse order.
Right.
You're going towards the monster instead of the other way. But This is what I meant in those general comments at the beginning. Scenes like that are so good that it made me wish the whole movie was at that level.
Yeah.
I don't mean the whole movie in the trench.
Yeah.
I just mean, I think you even, Ryan, would agree, that was one of the standout scenes of the movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I wish the whole movie had been at that level.
Yeah.
Well, I think this movie had a lot of different aspects in it. Like you said, it goes to a horror movie for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
with the
I mean, it's like straight up Indiana Jones when they're searching for the trident, right? I mean, it's like it felt like Uncharted.
It's what Hobbit with Smog when he's down in the like.
And when again, the end of the movie is it's the Lord of the Rings final battle fight with like 3 armies going at it and just fucking ridiculous monsters everywhere. It was so good, but that a few people said similar comments where they're like, "Yeah, you can trim a little fat." I don't know what you trim though. I mean, short of entire character arcs, I don't know where it slows down because you could trim maybe some character, some interactions a little bit, but I mean, I feel like even the slower parts, there was enough there that felt essential. I don't feel like there's 45 minutes of this movie that you could gouge out.
I think just sitting here recording and having seen it only once.
Yeah.
My thought was I was significantly less interested in any scene without Arthur or Mira in it.
Yeah.
That's why
You didn't like William Dafoe?
No, I'm not saying I disliked them. I'm saying my interest flagged in a lot of the politicking scenes. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Game of Thrones, which is what you're comparing it to, those are kind of dripped out across episodes versus a giant, like, just block movie. That's just one viewer.
Yeah. If I had any complaint, it might be I think they could have handled the flashbacks better with he's kind of a kid training with Volko. I felt that was maybe they interrupted the scenes maybe a little. Maybe you could have just done it a little quicker.
I don't like the way they did the beginning. When they show him progressing from baby to kid to adult.
You did or didn't?
I loved that part how they changed. Like they went into the snow globe for the lighthouse.
Well, they did it quick too.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
They did the talking to fish, controlling. Well, they hit a lot of those beats.
I think
quick.
I think the one that you're talking about for the flashback is the spinning. Where
that was an awkward.
This is where Volko to the jump, and it was just kind of this spin, and you're like, okay, when you spin into it, it's fine. The fact that we spun out of it and we got to that was one of the weird hairs on her.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
and you spin out of this to the back of her head. And the wig's just not hitting it right.
Volko and Mera kind of they look a little different. It doesn't work to merge those two characters sort of together. But I mean the most minor of complaints.
No, it doesn't. Does it ruin? Does Mera's hair ruin the movie for you? No. I mean, if you wanted to get really crazy,
she's my favorite character, or her and Black Manta are my two favorite characters in the movie.
So let's actually talk about Black Manta because I want to talk about him and Ocean Master for a few.
Yes.
So a lot of this setup is just like the John's more recent origin for Black Manta. Black Manta is like dad being killed by Aquaman. That's not an old one. No, to the best of my knowledge, that's John's creation.
Well, did he? Yeah, he killed his father in the John stuff, but in this one, he doesn't save his father.
Right. It's
it's a twist.
Semantics,
right? But I think that...
and again, I was a little concerned. I'm like, oh, they didn't just kill Black Manta. Oh, no, cool, he's alive. Perfect.
Well,
perfect.
You're talking about when he goes off that cliff?
Yeah.
It was a little Homer Simpson when he's trying to jump that canyon.
Yeah.
The ragdoll fall?
He's trying to jump that canyon on the skateboard.
Yeah.
It did remind me of that. The way they cut in those close-ups of the...
The ragdoll fall, that was brutal.
Oh, I do have to say real quick, my absolute favorite Aquaman takedown is when he pulls the guy. It's in the scene with the sub where he has the guy over his shoulder and he goes through the door and he just knocks this guy off. That was like, that would hurt.
Aquaman,
yeah. Oof. But I think there was just enough of Black Manta in this movie, and again, the post-credit scene with Dr. Shin, you're saving him for
the next one,
kind of like a bigger role in the movie. They used him as sort of he was kind of the Boba Fett of this movie a little bit. Like they don't really go into him too much.
I mean with that last scene where he falls, kind of.
Yeah. I mean you do get a quick origin,
a counseling group,
but he is sort of Boba Fett's not quite. A little bit,
Jango Fett, right?
Jeez, but
any clone.
him coming back fully powered, with like a full mercenary group behind him, maybe working with like because they introduced Merc in this too. He's in it very briefly.
Merc is
I think he's Asian. I think he was an Asian actor that played him.
An Asian actor that played him, and
in the comics, he's kind of like a monster.
He's more of a
guy.
bulky.
Yeah,
he's
like
more of a bulky guy, huge guy, and so like
I would love if they teamed like him and Merc up. That'd be cool. I like Merc. Is Merc the one that dunked his head in the toilet?
Yeah,
is that Merc?
Yeah,
okay,
that's Merc.
That was a little.
You laughed.
It was funny, but it's like, okay.
Hey, at some point, everybody, whether you've sat on a throne or shoved your head in there, have gone.
Had he just ripped the toilet off and the water was going everywhere, I probably would have been okay. Dunking his head in the toilet, I was
but
like,
he has to breathe. Like he can't breathe otherwise. Spraying water on you isn't the same effect.
Yeah. I could have done without that scene.
No, your favorite Black Manta scene is when he's working on the Antillean tech to make his suit, and they play the Repesh mode stuff.
No, him just like that visor, like better than the comic book version. Like I love that thing, just fucking annihilating anything it touched.
Well, this is what I really like.
Knocking Aquaman like through buildings. Like
this is what I really respected
so
about Black Manta. I've always enjoyed the Black Manta character, but to me, it's always been like, why does he have such an oversized helmet? Like, it's never explained in the comic books. He just has an oversized helmet, and you assume that it's because a manta is a large.
Well, it's a large, similar look.
Like, yeah, it's a similar. It's
they're trying to
go for, right?
Yeah.
In this, he's straight up trying to he gets this Antillean tech, which is the eyes.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, how can I make this
Atlantean.
work? Atlantean, sorry.
A humanoid shaped helmet.
Yeah, like, so he makes like a smaller version of it where you're like, okay, this is kind of what you would think the helmet is. But when he fires it, it virtually destroys the helmet.
Melts the helmet.
And he goes, I'm going to need a bigger helmet.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's for insulation because those things are, okay.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It was a good explanation. I don't know that it needed to be there, but it was a fun scene. So,
I like the little the history with and the personal touch with the knife, with the Black Manta symbol on it. His great grandfather,
you get a little bit, which is good. I mean, they could have just had him be there, no father, and then that's movie 2, right? Get into all that, but I like that they give a little backstory for him.
I think it was the set. Like I missed the little. The thing with Orm and him first, where you first.
I think that's when you walked out. Yeah,
I figured something like that happened from watching the movie. But as you're watching the movie, you're like, wait, where's Black Manta in this? How are they going to bring Black Manta back?
Yeah,
and I didn't see that scene, so I didn't know about that part.
Yeah,
but when he came back, I was like, oh, okay, he's back. And to me, it was like I liked the character. I liked seeing the character. It gave me really remnants of Sandman from Spider-Man 3. Where you're just like introduced to this really great character and then he disappears. And then comes back at the end of the movie and you're like, oh yeah, you ruined that character.
But I don't think they did that with
Black Manta. They didn't do that with that. But like that early feeling of like, because Sandman in Spider-Man 3 is just really solid character at the beginning of that movie.
He's all right.
Like just the setup for the character and all that stuff. So.
Sure. And with Ocean Master too, obviously different take on Ocean Master a little bit. I mean, in the comics, he's just, my name is Ocean Master. I should be king. I'm a super villain, basically. But in this, I kind of like the idea of whoever controls the armies becomes the Ocean Master. It works. Right? It's a little less cheesy than just being like, I'm the Ocean Master now. but that costume, again, perfect to the modern
helmet,
redesign.
When he puts it on for the first time.
Perfect.
Did you notice it actually moves with his face? Too? Yeah. I was not expecting that.
Wait, he sort of like squints at one point, and the mask like sort of forms like where his eyes is. So I was like, that's good. I mean,
we're to assume that Orm is a benevolent king of Atlantis. He's not, because the whole audience in that arena is cheering for him.
Yeah.
So they like him. Versus so the only thing he's villainous is basically to come back to Namor, wanting to attack the surface world.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, we can kind of extrapolate here from what we're given in the movie. They were all fine, I think, until Aquaman suddenly shows up. And then he's like, I can't lead if he is the right to the throne. I can't lead if he comes back. If we attack the surface world, if I get the troops, I mean, they were already kind of in the planning to do that, but his whole thing of I have to unite the other tribes, the other kingdoms. And if I get, what is he's like? Oh, well, I got 4 of the 7, then the rest have to bow to me or whatever. Yeah, he wasn't like I'm a crazy despot that's going to kill my own people. No, I think his people loved him, but did they know they were about to attack the surface world? Did they know that I mean, they don't even know Aquaman exists, right? The rest of the people don't even know that he's there.
But I mean, Orm's villainy, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Orm's villainy is only focused on the surface world.
Right.
Underwater, he is...
Well, but he hires Black Manta to
do the fake attack.
To get the sub, to do the, what do they call it, the false flag attack on him and... the
Zebels.
Yeah, and Zebel and Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
But again, you find out later that I don't remember
he also
his name.
did kill.
I want to say Dolph Lundgren, but I want to say his actual character name because it's I have it here. King Nereus,
King of the Fishermen.
Well, because they were even like you. I think Mera's even like you knew this was a setup and you still want to go with it, and he's like, got to protect the kingdom, So he kills the
Fisher King.
Yeah,
the
Fisherman King. And then the daughter becomes the head, and then he attacks the brine.
Yeah.
So,
as the story's going on and the intensity is climbing, he's getting more kind of manic and desperate.
Yeah, but
at the start, I'm saying his villainy is plotting to attack the surface world.
Yeah, and I think that villainy it comes from just from his mother's death, right? Because she was.
I don't even think it's that. I think he's just like I have to do something to retain my power.
But I think that it's a combination of his mother's death, right? Because she went to the surface, she had a bastard. So because she went to the surface is to blame.
Yeah.
You have all of the representations of what we do to the ocean with the garbage and the chemicals and like all of that stuff. Like it's your kingdom, and this is what the surface world is doing to you. So I think it's not laid out like all in one moment, but over like little snippets from like the aftermath of the tidal wave, what you see on the surface with all the garbage, what you see in the throne room when in the holograms and stuff with the turtle with the 6-pack plastic thing around his neck. I think it's more of just the surface world has always been a constant, and so the best way to combat the surface world is I have to get I have to get 4 kingdoms in line, so all kingdoms will align, and we can as one fight back against the surface. But I think it's like all these little buildups, but it ramps as we go because he's getting more desperate because Aquaman shows up and challenges him, and it kind of moves things forward quicker. Why are you grinning and smiling like you're going to laugh at something?
Craig Anderson on our Facebook poll for our top 3 superhero movies of the year. He said, "So excited! How do I indicate honorable mentions? I have 6."
Yes.
So
Bryce?
hashtag vote like Bryce.
I was going to say though, also I think the implication is that his whole vendetta against the upper world was started by his father too.
Yeah.
Because he's saying he's taken after and he's being betrayed by the lessons of his dad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of deep stuff in the movie, like character development wise, like politics, like there's a lot of stuff going on in the film.
Yeah. And I think it was actually one of my surprises, the fact that it stuck together as well as it did. I know Kevin, you said you didn't like some of the politicking, but it wasn't so long and boring and drawn out that you're like, get on with the fighting, It
wasn't 1, 2, and 3 politics boring from Star Wars.
No. No. I just was saying I had a more emotional investment in the Mira and Arthur stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Or Manta.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah. So, post-credit scene. Not the best. I wonder I don't know. I feel like there should have been
It's literally It's directly
from the comic.
It's directly from the end of
Yeah,
one of the
issue
comics,
1 of Jeff Johns or issue 2 or something.
I think it's at the end of the Trench story arc.
Yeah,
and Manta's not in it, but Shin is in it
Yeah.
in his house or whatever, and like it's literally the last page of that, but they put Black Manta in it.
Yeah, so in this, you have a character who's on the TV a few times being like, y'all fucking crazy, Atlanteans are real.
What is the FBI guy from Ant-Man and the Wasp doing in this movie?
Know Aquaman is real. They're going to kill us all. We have to strike now. Now, in the comics, I don't really care. That was maybe the one character that John's introduced that I was like, whatever. I just didn't care about that character's arc in the comics, so I don't see him being like a villain in the second movie. I mean, he could maybe like, I can be like, help. I can give Black Manta some knowledge, but like,
that's the thing is what his character.
Like, I barely remember what he even does in the comics.
In the comics, he's so desperate to find Atlantis that he goes to drastic measures to get the information.
Yeah, but he's just a dude. Like,
I know, but it's set up to be what he'll. This sets him up to help Manta a lot more in getting at Aquaman and to
kind of information
and stuff. And so and at the end, Shin is most likely going to be helping Aquaman, right?
I don't even remember what his end of his arc is in the comics.
I barely remember it. But
Yeah,
it's something along the lines of like he ends up helping Arthur, and Arthur like takes him down to Atlantis or something.
So when I think post-credit scene for Aquaman in the DC Universe movie,
this is your boner.
My thought was, well, Kevin had the really good one. My thought was, you see him floating on the wreckage, right? He's floating out in the ocean on the wreckage. A boat pulls up. Up to this point, it's perfect, right? Except the people on the boat should have been fucking Lex Luthor and Deathstroke, and they're like, we need your help. Come with us, right? Or like, let us help you. We've got a plan, right? You want to take down Aquaman? We've got some people we want to go after. Where the fuck's the Legion of Doom?
Yeah.
Like, they set it up so good in Justice League. My fear is that that's just...
Yeah.
We'll never see those characters again.
The disappointing thing about this post-credit sequence not only is that, but the entire note of this is, tell me where to find this Aquaman guy. Like, whoa, plot twist, Black Manta's out to get Aquaman? Wow, that's what we stuck around halfway through the credits to see?
Yeah.
Like, I would have been fine having never seen that scene and somebody just told me what happened.
Yeah,
you missed nothing.
Yeah, it's very weird. Now, I seriously wonder if original script, the boat is Lex Luthor and Deathstroke, and they get him, and then people at Warner Brothers are like, it's done. We will just kill that plot.
Setting it up a different way.
We will never use those characters again. Because what a fucking disappointment. I mean, dude, Deathstroke looks so good. Like, I will be so disappointed if we never see. So
it's a disappointing extra mid-credit scene because it doesn't tie into anything else. Tying just into Aquaman, it's not a horrible end-credit scene, but it doesn't. Shin's character doesn't set you up for some grandiose big story in Aquaman 2.
We've already wasted Sinestro in the Green Lantern movie.
Oof.
Now Deathstroke in Justice League. Probably Lex Luthor.
My favorite thing in all those Shin scenes throughout the movie, and it felt like they came up, I don't know how many there were, where he's on the news
There's
show.
like 2 or 3 of them. There wasn't a lot.
Is these people arguing with him? You're living in the universe with Superman, with the Greek gods as being an actual thing, an immortal Amazon, the Justice League, Steppenwolf. Well, Atlantis is not real. Get out of here, you crackpot. Like, this is crazy talk.
I think I've said this to you like 5 times. You do realize we're living in the Trump era, right? Like, it's totally believable. That's the sad part.
There was a great line in the movie. They were like, "Oh, back billions of years ago when people thought the Earth was flat." That was a good line. Good little dig there. Not billions, but you know what I mean. So my fear, again, let's Kevin, me and you talked about this briefly before the movie, because we all know what the post-credit scene of the Shazam movie should be, and that's everything's perfectly fine. And then it zooms in on this little caterpillar that's crawling on like a leaf, and it looks at the screen, and he's got his little voice box and his glasses, and it just cuts, and that's the end of the movie. That's what it should be. Or like it crawls up Deathstroke's shoulder or something
I will
like
be
that.
in a Ryan Higgins state of sexual excitement if that is the end scene of Shazam.
Dude, if fucking
Nobody
Mr.
wants
Mind
to see
shows
that.
up
Yeah.
at the end of Shazam, I will be like, thank you. I will stand up in the theater and just slow clap.
Do you know the probability of that happening is very high, considering I saw Jeff Johns' name on this movie like 4 times.
And he's all over. He's going to be over Shazam too. Yeah. He like co-wrote this and produced it and everything. So, but that nothing else going forward, unfortunately. Well, until Green Lantern Corps comes out, because he's directly responsible for that. Yeah. So again, my fear. DCU, we hardly knew you. I think unfortunately any of those plots were unlikely to pick up. But I mean, I guess you never know. I'm sure we'll have a few random things to say.
Any other characters we want to touch on?
I'm going to read a couple Twitter comments that I had here. People that replied. Got a few before we John Grosjean says, "Why Pitbull?" That's the Toto. It was fine. It was a funny scene. It was kind of a funny version of the song. It's not what I needed, but yeah. Macedino must work for Rotten Tomatoes because he says not Marvel, 1.2 out of 10. So that sounds about correct.
No,
So-
I think that's a Bryce Larson.
Oh, is that a Bryce Larson troll account?
Yeah, troll account.
1.2, that's a very specific rating.
From
Well, he doesn't want to give it a 0.5 anything because then that'd be too close to Marvel.
Woo on Twitter. It says, while visually stunning, the plot was underwhelming. You knew how the entire movie was going to play out by the end of the first act. Plenty of great characters and moments, but also hit and miss at times. It wasn't the worst of the DC movies, but it wasn't great either.
Well said.
Mike Pedro says, I need 8 more Aquaman movies with Momoa and James Wan, the director, at the helm. The visuals were out of this world. I am in agreement with that.
You have to admit the visuals on this were.
Yes, I have to admit that. I think anybody would have to admit that.
Don't get me wrong. When they went to like to the underwater site, and they're kind of in the ship going down. I'm like, God, fuck, Avatar, shoot me in the face. Like, I just had a just really bad flashback to Avatar, but then it went away.
Orlando on Twitter says, anyone else get distracted by the floating capes, hair, and beards?
At
No.
first, but you got used to it.
Nah, yeah, it never really bugged
What was
me.
distracting was Orm's hair perfectly
Perfect.
back. Like, how did they do it?
It's gel, man. Underwater gel.
Dude, that's
just
not underwater.
Get that hold, man.
It's something.
Underwater
I need to
hairspray.
know.
You just gel up some
It's a mold.
some.
They put a mold. It
Yeah.
presses it.
Cisco, you're always on my side. Cisco says, "Damn, a great damn movie." Perfect mix of fairy tale, action, cheesiness, and spectacle. Would prefer a better stinger, but we practically got an Aquaman by Jeff Johns omnibus in one movie. After 13 months without a DC film, I definitely appreciate getting more than less. Was it 13? When Justice League was November of 2017?
Yep.
Fuck, man, it's a long time.
DC's slow to get these out.
Ian says, just saw it again today in IMAX. A lot of friggin' fun. It goes 100% Saturday morning cartoon, and all the better for it. My only nitpick was the flashbacks were a bit hammy, but once you get used to the full vibe of the film, it's not a bother. Ryan, hey, not me, but a different Ryan, says, just saw it an hour ago. It was colorful, cheesy, and had some great action. Can't ask for much more, in my opinion. And, of course, Casey, the one and only Casey, who's changed his Twitter name 17 times since the last time I quoted him, says, great DCEU movie or greatest DCEU movie? And that is going to be the question because, man, I love Wonder Woman. Just didn't love the villain. My biggest complaint of Wonder Woman was I never loved Ares. I didn't love. I think there's a great idea there, but I was just like, it's
the porn
something
stash.
a little, and that does bug me. There's something a little off about Ares. Whereas I love the villains in this movie. Is this better than Wonder Woman?
Well,
That's a tough one. I don't know.
I think in this they embraced the colorfulness and the design of the villains. Right?
They definitely did.
Like
Yeah.
they embraced it. They were like, you know what, Orm, we're gonna go with it. When he puts that mask on and it has that fluidity to it and the movement with his eyes, I really enjoyed that. You know, going with King. What's the Zebul King?
Yeah. I
Whatever.
said it earlier.
Yeah.
I have it up here. Yeah.
Like his outfit looks like Zebul. the fishermen people, they look very like fishermen, but like what is it? The word I'm looking for? Poetic, like learn secular. Help me, Sharp.
No, I'd
What is
rather
the-
just see you
what-
splash around like this.
Hey,
Because you wouldn't help me if I were in this situation.
No, I would. I just probably wouldn't know the word. Whereas when in Wonder Woman, when we got to Ares at the end, they didn't embrace Ares in the comic book. Like they kind of
Yeah.
had the
They get close.
They had the armor, and then they just didn't black out and red eye the face.
that would have been the only.
if
that
they
would have
had done
solved. That would have been a big
Boom.
problem, or that would have solved a big problem I had
Yeah.
with.
Like I can
yeah.
forgive the flashbacks with the porn stash during Greek eras. Like I can forgive that, but it's the end when you're just looking through that visor and you see this porn stash on an old dude, and you're like, yeah, that's not Ares. But if they just blacked it out with the red eyes, it would have been.
Another thing that I was going to mention was in the flashback when before Atlantis sank. I can't even remember now in the story when this happens. They have the flashback to when it was still above.
Yeah.
But when they were going to make the technology that blew up the whole thing.
Yeah.
The king, what's his name?
Atlan.
Who saw it twice. The king of Atlantis.
Yeah, Atlan,
yes.
yeah.
It looked like the Kingdom Come version of Aquaman.
Yeah, totally.
The colors,
I see
the
that.
costume, the beard, and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional, but I thought that was a really cool nod if it was intentional.
He's
Well,
also the Saint of Killers.
Same actor?
Yeah.
Huh, I didn't know that.
You still watch Preacher?
I like the way they did the armor into his costume. It makes sense. There's a few times where they've had costumes in the show or in the movies where you're like, that's a bit of a stretch, but okay. This was like, yeah, Aquaman is sort of more of a kind of like that chainmail-y
It was the
sort
Jim
of
Lee cover.
Yeah,
Like it was straight Jim Lee.
It worked. I thought it made sense within the context.
It was
of the
that
movie.
new 52 armor that we all loved that the costumes got. You like that? You like that?
Well, one of the best redesigns of any of the DC characters recently has been the popping off the chest of the Green Lantern emblem. I love that. That's a cool visual. It just how the emblems like just boop, they just sort of pop off the chest as it glows, right? I mean, it's powered by the Green Lantern ring, and this felt like a similar sort of like we could take the look, the visual, but add like a more 3-dimensional element to it by making it more chainmailing and armory, but it wasn't. He didn't look like he wasn't walking around in like plate mail, just like clong, clong, clong. Like it still moves. He does that. He does that like that flex at the end when he lands, and he's like he gets before he does his attack or he comes out with the spear, and he's still functional and flows and moves. He's not clunky through the water in this big chunky armor. So I thought they did a really good job with that. Aquaman 2. Other than Black Manta. Did they fast track this? Do you think this is going to be a big hit? Let me actually pull up the box office mojo. I do love reading my numbers.
They have to have James Wan back. That's all I'm going to say.
I think
Yeah, just let James Wan do it. Just
Without Wan, I'm not sure.
well, they what's a Wonder Woman lady,
Patty Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins. Like they're like here's Wonder Woman 2.
Yeah.
Like if it works, just let it go.
Yeah, but James
If
Wan,
it doesn't work, we don't do that. Hence the Zack Snyder stuff.
But Wan is more invested in other branches too. Like he's part of the whole Saw and
James Wan is. They gave him kind of. He's doing a lot of stuff for the DC universe going forward. He's like Snyder was. He's doing some production level work as well. Yeah, he's working on more than just that. As of Friday, including the previews and the Amazon screening, they're looking at 32.7 million, which is putting it at about 70 million. 3-day performance. I think they're expecting about 110 total coming into Christmas for the first 5 days. I know international China. We were talking about this before the podcast. China's been eating this movie up. As of right now, we're at 332 foreign, putting it.
Is that just China?
No, China's at about 200 million.
They went to see it like the trench.
I don't know what the end here is. Probably 750. which I think is
That's lower than Suicide Squad numbers. Because didn't Suicide Squad hit like 900?
Yeah, I think it's something about that.
I had to bring it up.
Because BVS was just under.
You love Margaret. You love Margaret Robbie. You cannot deny.
Can't deny that. You're right.
Suicide Squad was 746 worldwide, 325 domestic, and BVS was, I think it was like 850, 860. So yeah, I mean, this is good. This is going to be right in line with that. This should probably get close to, if not beat Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman overperformed in the U.S., underperformed internationally a little bit, like Black Panther did. But Aquaman's doing very good overseas, which is obviously, and I think that's why it opened in China like 2 weeks early because they, the big piracy problem. They knew this movie would do well there. So, yeah.
I think if you're going to do an Aquaman 2, an element from the classic comics you could work in is the son of Aquaman and Mera being kidnapped by Black Manta.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you've set it up to have.
That's a time jump.
Well, yeah. But I'm just like I don't necessarily want to pick it up 5 minutes after this one ends.
No, I don't think. But I almost want it to be. I almost want it to be kind of like, who else do we introduce villain wise?
I think the Trench is the go-to villain. I think that's going to be the breakout scene of this movie, and I think they can still obviously have Black Manta be in it, but I think the Trench.
Manta and the Trench.
Yeah, they are foolish if they don't use the Trench again. Again, if you go to Shin's thing about Atlantis being this problem, the Trench invading functions as his ability to be like, look, but this is what I was telling you.
But the thing is in this movie he can control the Trench because at the end he's controlling them.
Oh, Aquaman. Yeah.
So
well, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he can't do it for that long.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
but if he can control the Trench, wouldn't he theoretically control all the rest of the Atlanteans and the
the specific thing with like the brine? It's like the steps down, right? It's you have de-evolution, right? That's how they're stepping down. Like because the thing is like this movie not only touches on like humans and Atlanteans, it's also talking about class systems and like race, and like there's a lot of undertones in this movie of those topics.
Just the current couple last arcs of Aquaman would make again a great movie of just the
we get Dolphin.
Dude, I need Dolphin in this movie bad. Just the breakdown of the magic and science.
Stop.
Classes
Stop.
of.
Who would you cast as Dolphin?
I don't know who people are. I have no idea.
I guess we don't.
It would be some 21-year-old girl you've never heard of. Was who they would cast, and it would be everyone's favorite actress by the end of the movie. Like that's just what would happen. It'd be no one has ever heard of.
No, they should cast Ariana Grande.
Jesus Christ,
that would be hilarious.
But the political intrigue of the more recent arc it's way more heavy on the Game of Thrones end than it is the big Lord of the Rings end of the mass battles.
It's going back to the everyone loved Orm. These people loved Orm. Now we have a new king who's not a pure blood. So they could do something along those lines, and that would fit with with Shin's wanting to get knowledge and all that stuff.
Yeah. Any last thoughts before we wrap up? Aquaman. Next episode is going to be our top 3 movies, TV shows, then followed by comics, Marvel, DC, and everything. So I'm sure Aquaman will end up on at least someone's top 3
So you're
list.
telling us we're not going to have like a normal episode for like 3 weeks?
Our next normal recording episode is like January 15th. Like we don't have a normal episode in a long ass time. It's it's like a full month of not normal recording. So
this is not the last you'll hear about Aquaman.
I assume it'll be in the end of year discussion as well. I think
that's a safe assumption.
I think you're going to see an uptick in this, especially if because I think Aquaman is falling at a time when there's a lot of other movies coming out at the same time.
Bumblebee and Mary Poppins.
So there's a lot of movies for this Christmas season. So I really think that we'll see how Aquaman does over the 2-3 week spectrum, especially since the holidays falls like at the beginning of the week for this year for Christmas and New Year's. So I think we're gonna have we'll have to look at it a little bit differently. So maybe by our next normal recording, you'll kind of see where Aquaman fell, because the people that didn't go see it, right necessarily, they went to see Bumblebee or they went to see Mary Poppins Returns because it was a more family-oriented movie. But, Mama's got to let loose and see some half-naked Jason Momoa, so she's got to go see Aquaman, so she'll go later. What? Like, I don't know, but that's all, like, women I've talked to at work have said, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go see that movie because Jason Momoa is not wearing a shirt through most of it. I'm like, all right, well, if it brings in people to watch a comic movie, I'm all for it.
We haven't mentioned one thing that I think should be mentioned about this movie.
Yeah, what's up?
There is an octopus playing drums.
Yeah.
Like, I'm...
Lean into it, man. Just,
Yep.
That's got to be like straight out of like the 60s Filmation cartoon or something.
Or those Silver Age comics when he had...
Well, think about it. We have...
Topo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, think about it. We have so many movie references in this movie to Jaws with that scene with the trench, right? Lord of the Rings with the big battle at the end. Hobbit with
not really
Smaug.
References, but inspiration.
Like, inspiration,
Sure.
right? You have a lot of inspiration. I saw that scene. I'm like, God damn, he threw the Little Mermaid in here.
It should have been a crowd. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
What a good movie. Good on DC. Very happy. Very happy.
No, I think if you go watch it, you'll be entertained.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if nothing else, it's a fun
And
movie.
according to Lane, the only way to watch it for your eyeballs is IMAX.
I'm 100% going to pick up an IMAX screening in the next couple weeks and try to see it before it leaves.
4K Blu-ray when it comes out.
I mean, I don't have a 4K player, so no. But I mean, again, beautiful looking movie, if nothing else. We're going to wrap up. Go over to our Facebook group, and we have our top... Well, as of this recording, we only have the movie one up. But by the time this goes up, we'll have our top... our list for our top 3 TV shows based on comic books, movies based on comic books, obviously comic books, Marvel, DC, and Independent. And then I'm going to have a random thread of like just other comic booky things. I'm sure the Spider-Man PS4 game will dominate that conversation that you like throughout the course of the year. Mm-hmm. Our next recording is going to be next week. We're recording our 2 end-of-year episodes where we're going to go over our own personal top 3 lists. And then we're going to read a lot of comments from the threads and whatever the top 3 movies are.
Maybe an email from 2012.
No, I think we'll have plenty of stuff to do other than that. So make sure you go over and vote on those threads. Please, your top 3 only. You can vote for less than 3 if you want, but a minimum of 3.
Don't Bryce it.
Don't Bryce it, exactly. No Sig.
I'm not even going to... I've given up on this class.
And we'll have more, much more of that should be up. What is the 1st and 8th of January will be our best of 2018.
Yeah, so the first will be the TV movie.
Yeah, we'll have TV movie first and then
the comic.
And then the comic will be on the 8th. Yeah, and of course there will be. We always our conversations always kind of bring up other stuff as we go through. So I'm sure if you're only interested in one or the other, it'll probably be worth listening to both because, again, there will be some crosstalk there. Let's thank our good friends from Patreon, the big backers from this month, Julian Titus at the Nerds with All Pants podcast at pixelbit.com.
Lane.
Oh,
man.
Jody Lawson at Canon, the Triad Comics Anthology at TriadComicStudios.com. Sam Che, Craig Anderson, Joe Duff, Andrew Nelson Mendez over at the Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast, Darfox 8 over at Manga Machinations, which when I was on my vacation in Hawaii...
I wouldn't know. I don't know. Would you call it a vacation? Because from your Twitter feed, it sounded like a death trap.
No, it was a vacation. My own problems of water slides aside, it was a great time.
Okay, baby water slides.
Of course. Darfox 8 was not there. However, I did get to meet, finally, the one and only Dakazu, longtime All Talk podcast host and co-host of Manga Machinations with Darfox. So it was great to talk to him.
You guys shared a beer?
I shared a... Is that where I had the blue drink? No, I had some other drink there. They're very tropical. They're fruity. I don't know what I had. It was pretty good.
Did it have pineapple in it?
Oh, yeah, of course. And then a tiki idol almost killed me, so that was fun. Don't forget to listen to Manga Machinations. And then Page Turners. It's a comic book podcast. You can find that over at pageturnerspodcast.libsyn.com. The Comic Conspiracy Podcast is found every week at comicconspiracypodcast.com, geekbox.net, and iTunes. Should go over there and listen to our previous episodes if you want to find one. If you want to find our other movie episodes, you can always do a search and just pick up the name of the movie. Rate and review us on iTunes. It always helps. That's what we're told. I don't know if it does, but that's what we're told.
You know what also helps? Tell people about our podcast.
That helps.
Share.
Too.
Let people know that you listen to some rando guys talk about comic book stuff, and we're entertaining.
If you are one of those people that use YouTube a lot, you can go to youtube.com/comicsconspiracy, and all our episodes get posted on YouTube as well. It's audio only, so you don't have to be paying attention to anything, but it's on there if you want to listen to it. The Comicsconspiracy at geekbox.net, those long-form questions can go there, and especially if you do have a top 3 list, if you want to kind of extrapolate on that, spend a little bit more time, go into more detail, instead of using the Facebook page, you can send it to the Comicsconspiracy at geekbox.net. And we will discuss those as well when appropriate next week.
For emails?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Send one in now, and then...
No, I will actually read these in the year that they are for.
When he gets the email ones for the end of the year, he can actually take the data and just copy it over, and he just says, from all the people that emailed us...
all right.
This is what they feel.
Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. It's Christmas Day. You just opened up a brand new iPad. Why don't you go over to digital.comicsconspiracy.biz and go pick up some digital comics via our Comixology site. You can. I'm sure there's something on sale.
Dude, that DC sale last week was.
Yeah, it's huge. Of course, if you like physical comic books, comicsconspiracy.biz is your place for that. You can pick up stuff from us. We do a lot of mail order. You can subscribe through comichub.com and set an account with us for online subscription. Don't forget to go to conspiratobrock.com. That's Brock's blog, a video pull list, and unboxing videos are all posted up on there. Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension, Charlie's Doctor Who podcast, and Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. I think it was down for Christmas because we were traveling, but it should be back up as of this recording where she could take new orders. Ryan Higgins Ryan, that is me on Twitter. Ryan Higgins Ryan, not to be confused with any other Ryan Higgins. Or would that be any other Higgins? Ryan Higgins Ryan. Nah, whatever. Brock is Brock Sager. Larson Bryce is Bryce Larson. I think he's going to be on our best of episode if he figured out how microphones work. Toby is Toby XI, and him and Charlie over at Insanity and Chaos on Twitter posted a roundup where they did talk about Bumblebee, Aquaman, and a few other things while I was gone. You can go find that on the Facebook page. And Comics Con Store is the store's Twitter account. That Kevin Sharp over there, his name on Twitter, that Kevin Sharp.
Yep.
So go check him out. Lane doesn't do that Twittery stuff. Although, do you? Oh, you don't do anything really. Yeah, I think you have one, but
I just use it to check Caltrain. And view people.
That's it. You don't use it. Geekbox, Comedy Button, Manga Machinations, and the Infinite Binge over on YouTube. I'm pretty sure they're still going. They never told me to stop them. I think they're still going as far as I know. Go check out all those other guys. They're a little on our little people on our network. It's always good to back fellow other podcasters. And Geekbox, we're off this week. Should be back next week. I think we have an episode going up New Year's Eve.
Yeah, don't you have an end of the year soon?
We'll do that sometime in January. Our 500th episode of the Geekbox is coming up soon, and I know we have some other people that are going to be on that. So look for that, and I think that's mid-January, end of January, a couple of weeks.
We're coming up on 400.
We're getting there. Yep. Slowly but surely.
You realize this podcast in March will be 8 years old.
It's been a long time. We've talked about a lot of comic books and movies and TV shows, and we're going to keep going. Hope you guys had a great Christmas, and hope you have a good New Year's. Celebrate safely, please. And we will catch you next week.